welcome to the tutorial on how a national staff member can raise an expense report. So the first step, as always, will be to go to the webpage umoja.un.org. Remember, you're on this page, welcome to Umoja, and we're going to click on the button Login to Umoja Self-Service. Now remember, if you need help logging into production, please view the tutorial video on how to log into Umoja production systems. And if you would like to simply practice this exercise in the training environment, please view the tutorial on how to log into the Umoja training environment. For time's sake, we're going to go directly into the system without explaining how to log in. So first thing would be to click on Login to Umoja Self-Service to start the process of logging into production. Now, once you are in production, you will make sure that you select the tab called Employee Self-Service. Now remember, I am in the training environment, but the actions, steps, and screens that I display on this tutorial are exactly the same as the ones you will experience in production. So the first thing we do is click on Employee Self-Service. This action will take us to the following page, where we will select the Traveler Work Center that belongs to the Travel, Shipment, and Expenses section, here with the airplane icon. We click on Travel Work Center. Now we'll have a report of what is called My Trips and Expenses. Now here you can find your trip number and also the status of your raised travel request, if it's approved, submitted. So please pay special attention to the status of your travel request. You may go directly to raise an expense report and not find your travel request number. So ensure that, first of all, your travel request is fully approved before you raise an expense report. Now, the following is extremely important and is something you should pay special attention to. When you raise a travel request, ensure that you take note of the trip number and also ensure that this travel request is fully approved. You can only raise an expense report for fully approved travel requests. And please do not raise a standalone expense report for a travel request that you have submitted for approval. Always submit an expense report to a fully approved travel request. Users must create and submit an expense report associated with this approved travel request within 14 calendar days of the completed trip. Failure to do so will result in the recovery of any advances paid prior to traveling. That has to be very clear, as it is very important. You should not raise a standalone expense report, only expense reports linked to a travel request. Now, the first thing we will do to create our expense report is click on the button here called Create Expense Report. Once you click on it, the system will display the number of travel requests that should be approved and now are waiting for you to raise your expense report. If by any chance your trip number or your travel request number is not here, please check in the screen prior to this one the status of your travel request. In this case, we only have one trip number. Now let's say we want to go back and we want to unselect this field. All you have to do is click on Reset Selection. Now you see the section at the bottom, and here's where I want you to pay special attention to, as I emphasized this before. Do not raise a standalone expense report. If by any chance the drop-down is selected, for example, Official Business Travel, and you click on Start, you're not raising an expense report for this trip number. What you're doing is raising an expense report, a standalone expense report, not linked to a travel request or to a trip number, as you see here. To do so, just select the trip number, and you see automatically it disappears from the bottom screen. You click on Start, and then eventually the system will begin to process your expense report for this trip number in particular. So select your trip number, click on Start. Now once we've clicked on Start, we can see again a very similar screen to the one we saw when we were raising our travel request. We have our timeline here with the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the highlights telling us where we are at, or what stage we are at in our expense report or our travel request. In this case, it's the expense report. So just scroll down Read the important information that is displayed here, and then follow to click on yes or no for the following required options. Now, it's very important that you read carefully through them to understand if you should particularly respond yes or no to these options. For the sake of this tutorial, we're responding no to all the options. If you have any trouble deciding which one to click on because you are unsure of what relates to your particular case, go to the page umoja.un.org/dfs, the one that appears at the end of this tutorial. Look for your ESS focal point in your mission and contact them to find out more information as to what should be the appropriate option for you. At the bottom, we have the last option called I want this claim to be settled through. This is quite important, as clicking on one circle or another may make a big difference in how you get paid. In this case, we're selecting payroll. Payroll settles your claim through next period's payroll. EFT stands for Electronic Funds Transfer, and this is for payment directly to a bank account you have in file with UN Treasury. The Conference Paymaster option should only be used for meeting participants who are paid through a paymaster, person with delegation of authority to disperse funds at the event. And the other option here allows you to indicate in the remarks if you wish to have your claim settled through cash, check, or UNDP, which will be further actioned by the TSA. Now, if you scroll down further, all you have to do is confirm here or verify that you have read, understood, and agreed the guidelines related to the submission of travel expense report. After that, all you have to do is click on the General Data button. Once you click on the General Data button, the next screen, which is here number 2 in the timeline highlighted, summarizes your itinerary, as you can see here. You cannot change the details on this screen even if you want to, as they are grayed out. The system is simply displaying your itinerary and asking if everything is correct. Now, as a traveler, you have to indicate the real itinerary details, if by any chance they are not the same as the ones you're seeing here, by clicking on Display Edit Detailed Itinerary. If changes involve additional DSA MSA payment, the expense report will have to be approved. Any changes that directly affect the amount that you have been already paid or are to be paid will restart the approval process. Otherwise, if there are no changes, the expense report will automatically be approved. So if any changes are to be made to your itinerary, let's say you stayed an extra day, an extra 2 days, any changes also in your DSA, MSA, you can click on the button Display Edit Detailed Itinerary. And we're just going to take a look at it so you see what it looks like. But for this specific scenario, we are not going to make any changes to the itinerary. As you see now, the itinerary is now editable. We can make any changes to the date, the departure city, country, mode of travel, arrival time, and so on. We do not want to make any changes, so we click on Accept as it is the correct itinerary. So our next step would be to simply take a look at the additional information related to the cost assignment. Ensure it is correct. You can also click on the Display Cost Assignment button, but you cannot change it because remember this was defaulted when you were raising your travel request. Also the subsistence allowance deductions and the mileage. So as everything is correct and we are making no changes to our itinerary, we're simply clicking on Enter Expense Details. In our next screen, step 3 in the timeline, reflecting expense details, the subsistence allowed amount that you will see in this case here, kind of grayed out, is based on your itinerary details. Any changes to your itinerary details should also be reflected here. So please check that expenses have been automatically updated based on new itinerary details or any changes that you have made. At this stage, the traveler can also add travel expenses. And how to do that? Well, by clicking on New Entry here in the section called Enter Expenses. You can click on this button and select from a drop-down menu the type of additional expense you want to add. By selecting one or the other, the system will prompt several other fields and options that you will have to populate. In this case, we're not adding any other expenses. So all we have to do is click on Review. Now we are almost done with our expense report. We're in stage 4 where it says review and send. We also have here our total subsistence allowance amount. So pay special attention to the amounts here and also specifically the color of the total amount at the bottom. Amount due or to be recovered. In this case it's green. When it's green, it means that the traveler will be paid the amount indicated in green. When it's red, it is the amount to be recovered. So pay attention to the cost assignment and the total amount due or to be recovered. In this case, everything is correct. So at this stage, all you have to do is click on Save and Send for approval, and the system will display a message indicating that the expense report was saved. The expense report number has the same number as your travel request. Thank you for watching this tutorial, and please pay attention to the last few seconds of this tutorial to know where to find further information as to who your ESS focal point is in your mission. Thank you for watching our tutorial, and don't forget to access umoja.un.org/dfs for more information. This site will be of great use for you, as if you do encounter any issues, you can access the link ESS Focal Points to find out who your ESS focal points are in your mission, as well as the Umoja Travel LPEs.